So again, just finding our place for our meditation in our body. Maybe just a minute to go, just check through the posture, starting at the crown. And with breath and awareness, just going through the whole body, using breath and awareness, like kind of like acupuncture, just to pinpoint where our awareness, where there's tension, stress, where we're holding on, and just using breath and awareness to release and relax any knots, any tension as we move down through the brow, through the eyes, all down through the face, neck, shoulders, all the way down through the body, and checking and just correcting our posture, especially this around the spine, and opening up the chest as we go down and do that scanning exercise for a minute. Then clearing the sort of airs in the body, since wind and mind are closely related, so the quality or sort of wind element in the body gross and subtle affects our consciousness, our mind, our thoughts. So let's do the 9-round breathing. Well, first finger of the left hand, closing off the right nostril, inhale through the left, long, slow, deep breath. Softening again through the jaw, through the throat as we inhale. And exhaling any kind of, usually on this side, we're exhaling attachment energy through the right. Inhale through the left, exhale through the right 3 times. Again, just using the softness and clarity of the inhalation to soften and relax all the body inside and outside, but still bringing a vitality and a clarity to the mind as we inhale and exhale. You're done. Opposite side, first finger of the right hand, closing off the left nostril, inhale through the right, exhale through the left 3 times. Notice we're getting maybe a little bit deeper into the diaphragm, opening up the diaphragm, opening up the stomach area a bit more as we continually inhale and exhale and release tension and soften, just softening the whole body. Then 3 long, deep inhalations through both nostrils and exhaling through both nostrils 3 times. See if we're going a little bit deeper into the body, into the clarity of mind, just as we inhale, maybe just hold the breath for a count of 1 or 2 and exhale again. Just allowing that inhalation to touch the mind as well. Sort of sweep away any obstacles, any thoughts, kind of neurosis that's not serving us. Exhale on the outer breath. And then noticing if there's a shift in the clarity of your mind, the softness of your mind. And in that space, allowing your motivation for this evening, whatever intention you brought to this evening, to clarify that in your mind. Bring it up here now. So as we've already discovered and explore even further this evening, Tara, so she's a liberator of fears. That quality that she embodies is inherent in her name. In Tibetan, her name is Droma, and Drol actually means not. Ma is the feminine. So she's kind of embodied in Droma as she who unties us from the knots of suffering and fear. So we have a lot of fears. I think we can acknowledge that. We have day-to-day fears, and also if we really check up, a fear of death, a fear of the unknown. No, it's correct in a way to acknowledge our fears, because until we clear the mind of karma and delusion, the main causes of our fear, we can't really see in front of our nose, so to speak. We can't see ahead of us. We don't really know what's going to happen in the next moment in our lives with any definite clarity. And especially at which point the appearance of this life will end. Lama Zopa used to say about Lama Yeshe that Lama Yeshe was on top of death. That means Lama had tantric realizations, which enabled him to have control over the death process. So in that respect, there wasn't any fear of death when you have control, when you have that power. But I think for most of us there, in all honesty, we're probably not there yet. So until that time, we need to, continue to acknowledge, embrace our limitations, so to speak, our knots in the mind, our fears. This is connecting with our suffering in a way, starting to develop this mind of renunciation. While simultaneously, in these practices, we also embrace our potential for liberation, our potential for all the different levels of happiness and bliss up to enlightenment. So until we're beyond these knots, these fears, we need to rely on Tara, this feminine aspect who liberates us step by these knots, these fears. She holds and guides us through the process of freeing us from these inner knots, these fears, up to the completion of our own innate qualities finally become manifest, up to our own Tarahood. This practice of Tara is a form of yoga. It's like a guru yoga practice. Yoga means to yoke or harness. So what we're doing here is trying to harness or unify our mind with the qualities of the deity Tara, of the Yidam Tara. And we use these sadhanas, these prayers, these practices to bring the qualities of Tara. And if we have a deity, a guru, we think Guru Tara, those practices bring the qualities of Tara's deep into our hearts and filling up our whole being. So I guess really this is each year wish, innately, we all want to have happiness. We all want to experience this peace, this blissful state of Tara, Buddhahood, enlightenment. So with that thought, not just seeking it for ourselves, but we try to embrace or at least try to have effort in the bodhicitta motivation, that we're doing this practice, not just for ourselves to yoke the qualities within ourselves, but to yoke as well this potential, the bodhicitta, this mind that Tara really embodies, the main mind, the bodhicitta that benefits all beings, brings so much happiness to all beings. Main aim, main goal is always to kind of nurture that beautiful mind of bodhicitta in our hearts so that we can become greater and greater benefit to all sentient beings. So let's start by just imagining we're in the space, like sitting below a large sky, a very clear sky. Just trying to empty the mind a little bit so we can create space for the deity to arise. So feel our whole being is just embraced by this clear blue sky, this beautiful space that's the ultimate nature of mind, a space of peace. This is where, in that space, that's where the deities arise. So above the crown of my head, I visualize a lotus and moon disk. A few inches above our head, we start to visualize this lotus and moon disk. So if you don't have a guru, I'm just going to go through the visualization of the teacher, the guru. If you don't have a guru, you can just start at the visualization when we start to visualize Tara in the heart. But I'll go through the visualization with the guru. And or if you have a teacher at least that inspires you, you can think that that is your guru manifesting, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama or Lama Zopa Rinpoche or another guru. Upon these is the great treasure of compassion, Arya Tara, mother of all enlightened beings, who is oneness with my root guru. My guru is seated in the full lotus position with a transparent bubble of rainbow-coloured light, is pink in complexion and wears saffron robes and a pandit's hat. His right hand is at his heart in the gesture of teaching the Dharma, and holds a verdant stem of a white lotus that blooms beside his right ear. So the purpose of the guru is always to teach us, that's why they manifest. These holy beings come into this world to manifest, to teach us. So just thinking, that this guru is, that's his main purpose, to teach us the Dharma, to guide, show us the path to enlightenment. His left hand rests on his hip, which holds a bell and the stem of another white lotus that blooms beside his left ear. So just as when we are in the presence of these gurus, there's this brilliance, they're just like a light and give us a sense of joy, in our hearts, just seeing them, thinking about them, feeling their presence. So we try to feel that even if we can't see the guru, it's just the guru's there, just by thinking. In this aspect of teaching us. And at my guru's heart is Arya Tara in female aspect, green in colour and seated in the dancing posture within a rainbow bubble. So again, the essence of the guru is Tara. So again, here, for not visualising the guru, we just think Tara starts to manifest in the lotus and moon cushion. Otherwise, the essence of the guru's holy mind is Tara. And it's manifesting in that aspect. Her left leg is bent up, her right leg is outstretched. Again, showing the action activity. Always there, always present, even in this world, even in this realm, always going to manifest in this realm to benefit us, free us from fears. Our left hand is our heart, and the mudra symbolising a triple gem and holding the stem of a blue uptali flower. Always granting refuge, that hand symbolising the activity of granting refuge from temporary and ultimate fears. Her right hand extended over her right knee is the mudra of granting sublime realizations. You can also feel, from that hand streaming forth as a constant stream of realization, always granting us blessings, the realizations of the path. That stream of light and nectar is always there, and the communicating us through this mudra. She's beautifully adorned with jewel ornaments and scarves, and at 3 places bears the syllables Om, Ah, Hum. Om in the crown, Ah at the throat, Om at the heart. Her heart is a lotus and moon seat in which stands a radiant green syllable Tam, the essence of Tara. So we think our guru's heart is the syllable Tam. Embodying wisdom, emptiness, embodying bodhicitta, the completion of those qualities, just radiating in that sound, the essence of Tam. Rays of green light radiate in all directions from the Tam and invoke all the enlightened beings of the 10 directions. They're all absorbed into Aryatara and become one. So all the light rays go out to all the gurus, the past, the present, the future, all the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the masters and saints who've achieved Aryatarahood. All their effort, their joyous effort, the depth of their wisdom, the profundity of their patience, the skillful means. So billions and billions of beings who've achieved Tarahood, all that blessing comes back in and further illuminates and empowers that Tam syllable in the Guru's heart. So we really feel that Tam and the whole image, the Tara in the heart, the Guru on the moon and the lotus and moon cushion on her crown is all kind of glowing with all the qualities of the past, present, and future Buddhas. That power. So as we make this request, try to feel like from the depths of our heart, we want to always be close to Guru Tara, to always be with us, to inspire us, guide us, moment by moment, second by second. That's refuge, that momentary guidance, and which is held through our faith, our devotion, our presence in mind of being there constantly with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Make a heartfelt prayer. So we say together, put our palms together, please remain above my head until I receive enlightenment. Try to feel that Guru Tara accepts our request. Then we take refuge, remembering Tara from now until enlightenment achieve. Guru Tara is our refuge, as I say, day by day, moment by moment, until we get out of the struggles of samsara, the turbulence, the waves of samsara. We need that ultimate refuge. It's Tara and our Guru unified. So we'll say this refuge prayer 3 times together. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merit from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. And just taking a moment to feel and plant that seed of refuge in our mind. Then to collect merit, to purify, we always need to perform the seven limb. This is performed not just at our level, but all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all through the stages of the grounds of developing bodhicitta. Even all the great Bodhisattvas perform the seven limb until enlightenment. We constantly have to purify, collect merit, creating the garden, in our inner garden for realizations to grow. This is what the seven limb does. With my body, speech, and mind, I devoutly prostrate. We just take a moment after each one. Just imagine prostrating at the feet of Tara, recalling all her qualities. I offer all offerings, both real and imagined. So if all the offerings we have on our own altar. Here at Vajrapani, we have flowers, lights, water bowl offerings. Maybe in your garden, maybe at this time of year, not so much, but we can imagine gardens of flowers, gardens of fruit trees, delicious foods, especially something that brings delight to your mind, like delicious foods like maybe like Indian food, Thai food, all the delicious foods in the restaurants. Imagining it brings delight as we offer them to Tara's heart. She gets delighted, full of bliss. All sins and offences amassed from beginningless time, I confess. So we just taking a moment to check in with what burdens us the most with our actions right now. Is it something with our speech that doesn't harms others? Something mentally, ill will? Trying to confess them in the presence of Tara with a wish to purify. I rejoice in all virtuous actions of holy and ordinary beings. So here, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, if we can spend a moment rejoicing first of all in our own virtue, we're here at this class tonight, because we have a precious human rebirth, because we have the freedom and opportunity to practice Dharma, to receive teachings, to meet qualified teachers. We have an aspiration to develop our mind to some extent, a certain extent, at least right now on the path to enlightenment, at least to try and take some responsibility for our own happiness. This is really what enlightenment is, taking different levels of responsibility for our own and eventually others' happiness up to enlightenment. So how wonderful that is, rejoicing in our own virtue. Rejoicing in each other, each one of us here, engaging in the practice of Tara. Just hearing Tara, hearing about Tantra is very rare. Even in light of all the Buddhas that are going to come to this world system over thousands and thousands of years, only 3 of them teach Tantra. Only 3 of them will teach this Tara practice. So it's very rare to be able to hear and have a connection with these Tara practices. So rejoicing in each one of us to have this shared karma together. Shared karma, meeting the teachers, taking bodhisattva vows, doing retreats. How wonderful it is, how amazing it is. And then all the great beings, the holy beings, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, unbelievable merits. His Holiness can bring thousands and thousands of people together to teach Dharma, even different Buddhist traditions, not just Tibetan Buddhist, different religions together, bringing religious harmony. That's only the sign of a great being that can do that. So His Holiness, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, or other teachers, holy beings that inspire you, how wonderful it is, how amazing it is. They're inconceivable qualities, just feeling a sense of happiness about them for a moment. Then, next limb, O Guru Buddhas and Buddhas, please remain until samsara ends. and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. All my virtues and those of all others I dedicate to the great enlightenment. So I'm going to chant in Tibetan. If you know the mandala, you can chant with me. Otherwise, just say it in English, just to do a little bit chant here. But basically, we're offering as much as we can from our heart that we enjoy, and also the depiction of this short mandala, if you know it, this universe, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon, and all the enjoyments in this universe we offer to Tara, just giving away everything mentally, at least in this practice. Saji Bogi Jushimedo Tramri Rablingji Nye Gyambadi Sangeji Hindumete Uvari Drogunamdakshina Chobarshog. The objects of my attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, and strangers, and my body, wealth, and enjoyments, without any sense of loss, I offer this collection. Please accept it with pleasure and bless me with freedom from the 3 poisons. Yedam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyadayami. Please bless me to purify all obscurations of my body so that it will become one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra body. So from Om, the radiating Om in Guru Tara's crown, we visualize white light coming, curving into an arc, entering my brow, and my body is purified completely of all obscurations. It becomes one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra body. So that white light streaming down like an arc entering a brow. Just feel our whole brow area gets filled with this brilliant, like white moonlight light. And all the obstacles of our body, any ill health, kind of heaviness of the body that's mostly created through karma, through killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, any kind of karmas we've created with the body, completely purified. So we become empty of those. Then filling up with the white light, especially in the brow area, the Tara's holy body. The enjoyment body is Sambhogakaya. At least feel like we create an imprint, we plant a seed to achieve that holy body that's beyond birth and death. Every molecule is experiencing bliss. And it never ceases, you know, the compassion, the wisdom never ceases. Then we request the holy speech. Please bless me to purify all obscurations of my speech so that it will become one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra speech. Right light emanates from the Arya Tara's throat and curves into an arc to enter my throat. My speech is purified completely of all obscurations to become one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra speech. So again, that curving light from the throat, really feel it's coming from the throat chakra, or if I have a guru especially, or just Tara, whatever feels more powerful for you, and it enters into your throat. Again, like a copper red light, like an autumn sky. And as it touches our throat, all our negative karma, kind of disempowered speech karma, gets emptied out from lying, ill will, especially gossip, idle speech, divisive speech, completely emptied out by that copper red light. And then the light, our whole throat chakra gets filled with red light of the beauty, that kind of beauty, Tara's speech, the power. The truthfulness, the motivation of bodhicitta, whatever words, only speaking, like a true bodhisattva, really only, whatever they say benefits others. This is deep, profound benefit. Then the mind. Please bless me to purify all obscurations of my mind so that it will become one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra mind. Blue light emanates from the Homa Arya Tara's heart and curves into an arc to enter my heart. My mind is purified of all obscurations. It becomes one in essence with Guru Tara's holy Vajra mind. So feeling that blue light, the essence of your heart, facing that deep wisdom, that profound wisdom that cuts through all our delusions. It's like a diamond, but that diamond energy, but in the nature of blue light, coming to our heart chakra and completely empties our delusions, our fears, our obstacles. And that deep blue light penetrates into our heart chakra, fills it up with that peaceful bliss, Sitara, that immovable concentration, immovable wisdom. And then 3 coloured nectar beams come, white, red and blue, simultaneously, and enter again into the 3 places. And we feel our body, speech and mind becomes completely unified. This sense of yoking, yoga. This is a yoga practice, yoking, bringing our mind to unify with Tara's body, speech and mind. So our whole being gets filled up with this white, red and blue light, especially penetrating deeply into those chakras in the brow, throat, heart. Then Tara, the Guru, Tara, like mist in a mirror, dissolve top to bottom in a small ball of radiant emerald light. And as that light starts to absorb through us, go down through the crown, the throat, as it goes down deeper, deeper into our being, touches our most subtle part of ourselves, consciousness at the heart chakra. We just absorb into light, into that non-duality with Tara. Where there's not a single appearance of an I. It's Dharmakaya, truth body, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They're our ultimate reality, one with Tara. And if we have initiation from the place of Dharmakaya, truth body, we can arise as Tara, or if we don't have initiation, we imagine Tara, our normal body arising, and Tara again manifests on a crown. But from Dharmakaya, it starts to come, some movement of the mind, and then we start to arise in this aspect of Tara. Beautiful, soft lotus. Everything's made of light. The appearance of grasping at a self and I is completely gone. And what starts to manifest is just like light, atoms of light. The lotus, the moon cushion, the green holy body, like a jewel, but translucent. And very beautiful to see. Try to feel this is me, this radiant light. Adorned with robes, silks and ornaments, showing our perfection of the qualities of patience, morality, all these precious qualities. manifesting in the form of the silks and ornaments that adorn her holy body. It's like 16 years old, youthful, vibrant, like dancing with light. And in our heart, or in the heart of Tara, on our crown, the moon cushion with the tam, the essence of Tara, the mantra circling clockwise, Om Tari Tutari Turi Soa, green light, radiating out to all, filling us up again with the essence of Tara and filling all sentient beings. We just imagine the light going out and purifying, embracing all sentient beings, placing them in the state of Tara as we chant the mantra together. Or if we don't have initiation, Tara's on our crown, filling us up with light from the tam and the mantra garland and radiating out and filling all sentient beings with this quality Tara. Om Dari Du Dari Du Re Soha 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 Om Dari Du Tari 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 Du Re Soha. Feel all the cells of your being, everything's just filled with this essence of the mantra, this liberating quality. This is me. This is my ultimate state, one with Tara. And this is the ultimate state of all living beings, beyond duality, beyond birth and death, beyond fear, this state of deep bliss, deep peace. This is me. Okay, so can come out of the meditation and I will share this screen again with the with the PowerPoint. Okay, good. We can see that okay? Yeah. I had to change a few people couldn't see the Tara practice that I shared last week very clearly. So I just changed the practice. Doesn't look as nice, the black and white, but next week I'll change the font so it's a bit clearer. So, because the other practice doesn't have the sort of chanting in it so much, but either way, you could read it a little bit easier. So yes, so last week what we finished with was a little bit going through the mantra. So I thought we'd just continue to go through the meaning of the mantra. The mantra really embodies the meaning of the whole practice. 1 second, just change that here. So Om, we started with the syllable Om. So Om is at the beginning of, as we know, most of the mantras. I think all mantras start with Om. And Om basically embodies these three kind of smaller, within Om, as there's these sounds, O, A, Om. It's made up of those sounds. And even within that, so often, as we see in the Tara practice, we had Om for the body, A for the speech, Hom for the mind. So even within Om is embodied the speech, body, speech, and mind, all the qualities of the body, speech, and mind of all the Buddhas, even in that syllable Om. So that's why it starts at the beginning, because when we're reciting mantra, what we're trying to do is awaken, mantra awakens. I kind of spoke a little bit about the qualities of mantra last week. Each of the syllables within the essence of the sound is the meaning, the quality that we're trying to, bring forth in our hearts and minds. We're trying to awaken. So Sanskrit has this particular benefit or power that the meaning is embodied in the sound of the syllable, and we have a special connection with Sanskrit. All the tantras, as I mentioned in the first class, are all taught in Sanskrit. So, of course, the meaning of the tantras, the meaning in Tara, that's all translated, but we always keep the mantras in Sanskrit because they embody in the most succinct form all the qualities of that particular deity. So it's a way for us to quickly kind of yoke, as I mentioned, this when we sometimes say the sadhana or the guru yoga practice, Guru Tara yoga practice, Chenrezig yoga. You always often use that term yoga. What actually means, Kim will know that she's a yoga teacher, but yoke means isn't it, to kind of draw forth. Yoga means to yoke, to draw forth into us that quality, to bring about within our being that quality. So, in a sense, that's the most succinct way of doing it is by reciting mantra. Mantra within itself has that quality. So Oma Home, holy body, speech, and mind. So I guess if you have really, really incredible karma and merit, you can just recite Om, and all the qualities will just come to you if you have that much merit. Some of you might be familiar with the Heart Sutra. I think most of you would be familiar with the Heart Sutra. So there is a teaching on the Heart Sutra where, and we're going to go into that this evening, where there's a lower capable being teachings. So and then there's a middle capable being teachings, and then there's a higher capable being teaching or practice. So even in the Heart Sutra, when that's taught during the commentary, it says for higher capable beings, that means beings that have a lot of merit, a lot of pure karma. Just by reciting the mantra, they don't have to recite the whole sutra and meditate on it. Just by hearing and reciting the mantra, they have they they realize the meaning of the sutra. They realize the meaning of emptiness. They realize emptiness. For those who are even more pure, if they say just by saying that's the most succinct syllable for emptiness, the teachings on emptiness, So for those who are very pure, just by hearing seeing thinking about maybe reciting they can get a direct experience of emptiness. So that's when our mind's really pure. But we need a bit more than that. We at least need the refuge and the seven limb and then the mantra. We just need more extensive practices to get that experience to, as I say, to yoke, bring our mind closer to the mind of Tara, to nearer. So again, maybe I mentioned last week when we do 100,000, there is a practice of doing 100,000 mantras of Tara, or you can recite, you can do more. But at the minimum, 100,000, that's often called a nearing retreat. So what you're doing is by reciting that amount of mantra, you're getting nearer to the qualities of the deity. So Om, that's a little bit meaning of Om. Then Tari. So Tari, and again, this is from Lama Zopa Rinpoche's commentary on the meaning of the mantra. Some of you may have read it already. We had the readings, so it was in the readings that I sent out a couple of weeks ago. Tari, liberating us. So again, Tara is all about liberating from fears and obstacles. That's her main objective, her main quality. But so liberating us from samsara, that's the main thing she liberates us from. So Tari again, it comes from Tara. And again, Tara Doma is the Tibet. Tara is the Sanskrit for Tara's name. Doma is the Tibetan Tara name. And Doma literally means, as I mentioned in the motivation, actually means Doma means it means a knot. So it's like she who unknots us, unties us from samsara or liberates us. They're all kind of similar connotations. So what is she liberating us from samsara? That the first one, it actually means that she's liberating us from. So this in the context of the Four Noble Truths, what is the first noble truth? I think most of us might know that, but I'll just ask anyway. First noble truth. Anna Marie, do you remember what the first noble truth is?
Like life is suffering.
Well, that's true. Yeah, life is suffering, more succinctly.
There is suffering.
Yes, yeah. So the first noble truth, each one is a truth. Yeah, so the truth is suffering. So what this mantra's showing us is that Tara liberates us from the first noble truth, the truth of suffering. So the truth is suffering. What kind of components are in the truth of suffering? Anyone want to share a little bit their understanding of the first truth, the truth of suffering?
There's a cause.
Well, the first noble truth, we're not on the second one yet. What is the first noble truth? Sorry, within that, what's enumerated within the suffering? There's 8 different types of suffering that we're under the control of.
All pervasive suffering, the suffering of change, those you mean?
Yep, that's also in there as well. Suffering of change, all pervasive suffering.
Suffering of suffering.
Yep. So the truth of suffering embodies those ones, and especially, birth. So truth of suffering really more embodies what the symptoms of suffering is. It's a bit like the way to remember it as well is, we go to the doctor and we have these things going on, and he'll say, do you have this and that? And the next thing it's sort of diagnosing the symptoms. So you're right, Sue. It's the different types of suffering that it embodies, So what the Tari does, it has this quality of liberating us and showing the path to the first noble truth, the truth of suffering. Basically, as we do the Tara mantra, what it's doing is it unties the knots of suffering in our being, unties the knots of fear. We start to awaken more to what our suffering is, because we need to really understand our suffering to be able to, one of them, free yourself from it. So in a sense, when we chant the Tara mantra, and especially this syllable Tari, what it's doing is it's trying to open up the mind, open up kind of what you could say our Buddha potential, so we can start to see our suffering. This is what I feel is the main quality of and what it is. It's the quality of the tantric practices. They have a power to, especially as we're beginners, really kind of supplementing our Lam Rim practice with a deity practice like Tara, Medicine Buddha, or Chen Rizig. This combination helps us to get connected to, well, what really is suffering? What was this suffering the Buddha's talking about in terms of right now, the first noble truth, the truth of suffering. So it can also be called the truth, the Four Noble Truths can also be called the Four Truths for Arya beings. So an Arya being is someone who's had a direct perception of emptiness, a direct realization, or at least at this point, a direct perception of emptiness, the direct perception of the truth. You know, so for them, these Four Noble Truths, at that level, once you understand your nature, your ultimate nature, you've had a direct visceral experience of that, you know, that's what it means, a direct perception, then it becomes fit. The Four Noble Truths are very, very clear that we were under the control of those, especially the first two, and that all beings are under the control of suffering right now in their mental continuum. So this first truth that Tara is liberating, it embodies that ability for us to be able to connect and see by reciting the Tara mantra, Om Tare, to be able to connect and slowly really start to feel what the truth of suffering is in our own experience. The Buddha enumerates it through telling us suffering is birth. You know, we're under the control of birth, old age, sickness and death, you know, dissatisfaction. There's the 8 types of suffering as well. Sue mentioned other types of suffering. We've got many, there's a whole list, which we're not going to go into in this class, but just touching on them, you know. We know, you know, as I said in the motivation, we're not free of uncontrolled death yet. We don't have power over that. Lama Yeshe achieved, and as we see in the example, some of our spiritual teachers, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is always saying he's going to try and live to 110, you know. So, you know, we can't say that. We don't have that certainty. So right now, death controls us, birth controls us, old age controls us. You know, we're also controlled by a level of dissatisfaction that happens in our life through meeting objects or people that, you know, sometimes brings happiness, sometimes brings discontent. But either way, even the sensory objects that we enjoy, they don't bring about everlasting peace and happiness. You know, we just get a temporary sort of relief from suffering. So this is, you know, just touching on what is a whole package of suffering, you know, that the Buddha talked about in the First Noble Truth, really a full diagnosis of what's going on for us. So when we do Tara Mantra, what it does by opening up this sort of beauty of our Buddha nature, you know, our Buddha potential, Tara Mantra resonates with that. It helps us to start to see and connect with, but not in a heavy way. It's like we just get this space in the mind where we start to see, oh yeah, aha, you know, death is a suffering, you know. Yeah, the sense objects, they don't give me everlasting peace and happiness. Aha, you get these aha moments, which I'm sure some of you have through the practices. So that's what we do in the Lama Tsongkhapa tradition. We study and practice the Lam Rim, which in essence is the Four Noble Truths, just elaborated, you know, for us. And then combined with that, we do these beautiful practices of Tara, Medicine Buddha, Chenrezig, you know, Guru Yoga practice. And these two kind of start to align together and bring about an understanding our deeper nature. You know, they wake up the deep nature and start us to get a bit of space from our suffering and start to really recognize, wow, that's really true. And in that process of recognizing what states of mind bring suffering and happiness, we move away step by step for the suffering states and start to embrace and embody the positive states of mind, you know, that are embodied in these mantras and the qualities of Tara. So that's kind of what Tari is doing. It's liberating us from samsara. But again, mostly at our level, it's just trying to get us to really see, you know, and again, she's untying these knots. So that's when we start to untie some knot of our suffering or hard rock-like mind, it's like just through that untying that space that's created, we start to see that that's a suffering state and start to develop renunciation of that, start to not want to follow and engage in that mental state. So that's a level of renunciation. We just go through step by step levels and experiences of renunciation. So the other thing so Tari, that's what Tari does, sort of trying to bring forth this understanding of what is true suffering in my experience? What does this first noble truth look like in my mental continuum? And how can I start to kind of become a truth for me, that first noble truth? How do I really see that it's really true that these states in mind and the whole process birth, old age, sickness, death, you know, the different things that happen to us in our life mostly are just kind of contaminated with a type of suffering. They're not pure, it's nothing really in our experience, not much really qualifies in the realm of pure happiness and everlasting happiness. So that's Tari. Tutari, the second part of the mantra, that corresponds, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, to the second noble truth. So again, I've said, so the whole mantra really corresponds to and is liberating us from and allowing us to sort of deepen our experience as the Arya beings do, you know, the four truths become a truth for them. So this mantra, eventually through reciting it, doing the quality Tara, these four truths become our truth. And through Tutari, the second truth starts to become our truth. So the second noble truth, what's the second noble truth? John, you'll know that. John.
Trying to unmute myself.
Oh yeah, takes a minute.
You're right. The second truth is that there's a path forward.
No, it's not, John. That's not the second one.
No, that's the
Just to get
third
your
one.
numbers right here.
You're right.
No, that's not even the third one. But so what's the second one if it's not those? First one is the truth of suffering, right? So that's more about the symptoms. What does suffering look like? What is the second one? It's good. We're doing these Q&As, you know, so we get it a bit clearer in our mind, you know.
Julia
Mhm.
has a
Julia.
response.
I'm sure Julia knows, yeah.
Saying there's a cause for it, and it's mostly our ignorance and mental afflictions. But
Yes, so yeah, you're right, Julia. So the second
All
noble
right.
truth is the first one is the truth of suffering, which enumerates the symptoms, you know, what's going on in our experience. The Buddha's just saying, you know, you've got birth and sickness and old age and death. And as Sue said, these different other layers of dissatisfaction and suffering and that's going on in the mind. You know, so the second one is actually, which makes sense. You know, you go to see a doctor and they just confirm to you what's going on if you're not feeling well, and then they tell you why that's going on. Yeah. So the second one, as Julia said, is the cause of suffering, the truth of the cause. So there's a cause. It's not random that we're just born and die and have old age and sickness. It's not a random thing, you know, it's a causative thing. There's a cause for that. And as Julia said, what did you say, Julia? The afflictive emotions or disturbing states of mind, or?
I said the ignorance and mental afflictions mostly.
Yeah, so that's one of the causes.
And
What's the other one? Two main causes of suffering. Within mental afflictions, there's many, of course, but there's two sort of main causes of suffering.
no cause of reality ignorance. I'm not understanding the true nature of reality.
Well, that's right. That's very good, Jess. But there's another one that's
It's always
different from that. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. You've got all that, yeah. So, Mary, what's the second one? Mary,
Karma.
karma. Yeah. So we also need to liberate ourselves. So the two main causes of suffering. You're right. The root cause, Julia, the root is ignorance, grasping at wrong view of self. So you're correct. But in terms of really getting correct, the Four Noble Truths, there's two main causes of suffering, karma and delusions. You know, so we also create, you know, our actions, our body, speech and mind that were not wholesome. We create a lot of, you know, killing, stealing, that all creates suffering, right? And that all compounds samsara. You know, it creates this compounded existence and getting reborn into samsara. So Tutari, she liberates from these two causes of suffering. You know, this practice, by doing it, purifies our karma, you know, makes our karma more wholesome, makes our karma closer to the activity. Tara embodies activity, action, you know, the enlightened activity of all the Buddhas. So all her actions are pure. You know, she's got pure body chitta. We see, like, you know, if we, you know, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, these great gurus, they just ride on the waves of bodhicitta, yeah? We kind of like, I don't know, you know, we bob up and down, and sometimes we're flying, and other times we're like really crashing and burning, you know? So because of karma, you know, because our actions right now are not we're not creating pure karma. You know, so right now we are under the control of afflictions, as Julia was saying, the main one being the main perpetrator of all the problem, and even the perpetrator of karma, you're right, is ignorance, the root delusion. But Buddha enumerated both of them because we need to take care of both. As you know, we develop on the path, we very much need to take care of our actions. You know, what karmas are we creating that are eventually causing us to realize the nature of our mind? There's a causative process to realize emptiness. So we need to we can't abandon and just throw karma out. We need to very much take care of our karma, you know, to achieve the causes and conditions to realize these kind of higher states. So what Tara's doing is she's liberating us from 8 fears, and she's also liberating us from these two main causes, karma and delusion. So these 8 fears come because of we have the existence of these two causes of suffering in the mind, karma and delusion. So she's liberating us, Tara liberates us for the whole process. So we go through the 8 fears because this is as I say, Tara's the one, you know, we know she's liberates the fears and obstacles. So this is the main way that she liberates the fears and obstacles, through working with these different delusions in the mind. So first one, so she's known for liberating from these external and internal dangers of fire and hatred. So each fear is associated with a different sort of element or animal in this case. So the external one is the element. So again, as we said in the beginning, what does Tara do? She's the compassionate mother. So she has this power and ability to free us from temporary and temporary dangers, you know, dangers of fire. You know, so there's certain taras, I mean, generally the 21 taras, when we recite that praise, there's different taras in there that free us from different harm for the elements, but just the mantra alone, within the mantra alone, embodies the qualities of this liberating from these 8 types of fears. So there's the external and the internal dangers that or the temporary and the more deeper dangers that are inherent in our mental continuum, in our consciousness right now. So she liberates for both, you know. So as we kind of shared on the first class, some of us had these beautiful experiences of just praying to Tara. And I think Julia, you said the gas never ran out in your gas tank when you had to go and, you know, you thought it was going to run out, and you just it kept going and going and going, you know. So there's these miraculous things that Tara can do just to liberate us for sort of temporary dangers, such as the temporary danger of fire. So these two are related in terms of fire and hatred. So as Master Shantideva said, so we can all sort of identify with the dangers of fire. Nobody wants to be, you know, experience any kind of danger for fire. And in terms of hatred, as Master Shantideva said, just as a single spark, how they're kind of related, just as a single spark can ignite a whole forest, so a single moment of anger can destroy great merit accumulated over many lifetimes. So that's in a way where they're related. She kind of puts out the fear of fire, but she also similarly, by reciting this mantra, it kind of it pacifies, you know, dangers of anger in our mind. Or similarly, just like even a small amount of anger can have a devastating consequence, like a fire rapidly spreading throughout a forest, anger can wipe out all positive actions we have done. You know, so anger's like, you know, of course, the ignorance grasping at true existence, that's the most, well, it's the deepest one, you know, but anger's the most dangerous out of all the delusions, you know, because it really can destroy a huge amount of positivity that we've created. And we can see that in our lives, you know, anger, you know, if we get angry at others in our relationships and friendships, maybe one time's okay, but if we continue to do it, really creates this kind of distance from others, this distrust. It burns up, it tends to burns up our relationships and many good things in our life, you know. So by reciting the mantra, it purifies anger in the mind. And it also, you know, I've found as well that when I have like difficult delusions coming up, for me, you know, some traditions say watch your breath, go back to your breath, but I always find that reciting mantra helps to pacify my mind when I'm having some major moment. I have to kind of calm myself down, you know. So so in that respect, you know, it can be very good when your mind's disturbed just to recite Tara mantra or any mantra. It has this quality to sort of pacify in that moment and bring our mind back to positivity, just by, you know, bringing the mind to mantra. So another fear that Tara liberates from is the fear of water, you know, floods and tsunamis. So I know I mean, all these dangers, fire, water. I mean, we're in a time right now where there's a lot of harm for the elements. So Tara practice is really wonderful to do at this time when we're faced with all these different types of harm, not just for ourselves, but the whole world. To do Tara practice, Tara praises as much as possible to try and pacify these harms before they come. So yeah, there's also this correlation between harm for the water, so flood and tsunamis, but also this kind of correlation with water and attachment. So we could say, you know, due to the waves of attachment that cause so much disturbance in the mind, we're not really able to penetrate the depths of reality. You know, we're kind of on the waves all the time. And that's happening mostly because our clinging and attachment to things and objects and, you know, the appearances of this life. Another term they use is like we're in the muddy waters of attachment. So Tutari liberates from the muddy waters of these turbulent waves, you know, so brings us back to a place of clarity and peace. So that's another internal and external danger that Tara liberates us from. Rinpoche said that in Kopan, when there's a practice of all-night Tara practice, I think we mentioned last week, I know that they've done it at Pamtingpa Centre. So during that, Rinpoche said that it used to rain quite heavily when they were doing all-night Tara. So I guess maybe that's an auspicious sign. It must have been, because if Rinpoche's doing all-night Tara and it rains, it must be auspicious. So, but generally, this is more in terms of liberating us from the fear of water, floods and tsunamis and everything that, you know, when water can cause harm, to liberate us from that. So the third fear that Tutari liberates from is lions and pride. So of course, maybe most of us aren't coming across many lions. Can't imagine in our area. I don't know. Does in your area is there any lions kind of maybe in Colorado? Colorado, there can be, yeah. Snow lions,
We have
mountain lions,
mountain lions, yes.
mountain lions, yeah. Certainly here at Vajrapani, occasionally we have had sightings of mountain lions as well. I know in Landakama Biding they've had mountain lions. Anybody seen a mountain lion? Oh, you have, Eloise, yeah? Mary, yeah? Wow. Like, how close up?
Yes.
Close enough.
Too close?
I was in the car
Oh,
and I rolled down the window and was like, "Hi there, oh many peme home," and then I realized I should go.
because I mean, are they actually like the size of regular lions you see in like Africa and stuff like that? They're
No,
smaller.
it was like I don't know what they call it, a cougar.
Oh, so that was more like a cougar, or it was a mountain lion, but it was the size of a cougar?
Or I don't think I know the difference.
Oh, well, Eloise, you've seen one. What was your experience?
Not as big as as an African lion for sure. Not nearly as long and massive.
Yeah.
But they can have their paws are this big around.
That's still a fair size then. That's a bit bigger than a cougar.
Big.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, so there's still, of course, even now there are fears of lions, you know, but the main one here we're talking about for maybe most of us, I mean, certainly at the time in the olden days, great practitioners, they did, you know, these days we have the comfort of retreat centers and our house in the mountains, you know, but in the old days they went and meditated just in the forest, you know, in caves. So it was a real danger until you had a certain level of realization. I mean, you could come across quite dangerous animals when you're a meditator. So the main one here it's liberating from is pride, yeah? And as they say, nothing grows on the mountain peaks of pride. It's a metaphor for meaning that the excessive pride hinders, it's actually one of the main obstacles to our spiritual growth and prevents positive development. Like, you know, harsh conditions on a mountaintop is not really a good, you know, they're not conditions for growing anything sort of wholesome. So like that, arrogance is like a barren soil, implying that a proud and arrogant attitude does not allow for learning or positive kind of relationships or positive, mainly the realizations to grow. Nothing can really flourish in that environment, you know. So we want to be free from pride. And, you know, I think really the masters that have the realizations are the most humble, aren't they? I mean, we see that in our gurus, our spiritual teachers. They're like the most humble beings. So it's almost like the more realizations you get, even though you've got more qualities, you become more humble. So it's your humility is often a kind of sign of one's realization, you know, how much genuine humility someone has is usually a direct sign of kind of what kind of quality of realization they have. So that's the third one. And then the next one, the fourth one that Tara liberates us from, the fourth external fear is elephants. So I don't know, has anyone come across a wild elephant at any time? I mean, we might have seen them, but we've not come across any wild, dangerous elephants. Anybody? No, no one, no. So anyway, again, in those days, gone past, elephant and ignorance. So why do you think ignorance is kind of associated with an elephant? Anyone want to hazard a guess? Any hands there? Oh, yeah, a few people. Yep, somebody's. Who was that?
Go ahead, whoever that was.
A male voice, whoever the male was. No? Okay, Julia.
Well, I was just thinking of when we were on the elephant refuge, like Mary and I, when we went to India and we went to this island that had like 200 elephants on it. And anyway, it's not in the wild because they're like taken care of there, but it just, I don't know about how connecting elephants with the self-cherishing mind, but ignorance of the self-cherishing, I don't know what I'm talking about really, but the elephants were very impressive, and how they associate with ignorance, I'm not sure, but I think the most dangerous ignorance is our own self-cherishing mind. That's what I'm trying to say, but I don't know about the elephants. Sorry.
Personally, my guess about the elephants would be that they're so large that they don't really have to consider as many aspects of their own safety, or just, you know, they don't have to think about their place in space as much as smaller creatures.
The small things they step on.
Well, they don't have many fears. They don't have many fears, right? Because they don't have a lot of adversaries. They're so large. So what it means here is, and you sort of touched on it, I think previously, Julia, because the elephant is the largest animal. So when it's untamed, it creates the greatest harm. So like that, ignorance, if we don't get on top of ignorance, this root delusion, then it is the one that's creating, you know, of course, anger creates a lot of harm, but the one that's creating the most harm all the time, when we start to understand the Lam Rim, for those of us who do already, but the more we understand the presence, how ignorance, that delusion that doesn't allow us to see our true nature, that's the one that's creating the most harm for us, because we create karma again and again to be born in samsara due to ignorance. You could also say elephants, as we're saying, are the largest and heaviest animal. They also leave the greatest imprint in the mind, yeah? So similarly, the imprint of ignorance is the deepest and hardest to clean or remove from the mind. It is. I mean, we can see our anger, yeah? It's easy to see for most of us when we're angry, and it's also easy for most of us to see at this level. You know, we've been practicing for some years. It's harmful. We can see the harm it creates in our lives. You know, we can see the harm to a level that attachment creates in our lives. But it's not so easy to just to see ignorance. You know, anger and attachment are easier to sort of work out and see when we hear the teachings of the Buddha. You know, when you hear teachings, it's like, okay, I can see my anger, I can see my attachment, but to really, really get a good sense of how ignorance is operating in the mind is more, it's because it's more subtle, you know, it's not so easy to get there. You know, so it's also the hardest to remove from the mind. It's because it's got this deep imprint in the mind, you know, it's the most hidden. So, you know, from that respect, you know, ignorance is the deepest imprint in our mind, you know, than all the other ones. The other ones we can move off more easily. Ignorance is harder. It's harder to remove. So there's that correlation there with the internal and external fear and danger that Tara's freeing us from the tutari. Next one, maras and demons and doubt. So this one at the time of the Buddha, you know, when he was just about to achieve enlightenment, when he was in Bodh under the Bodhi tree, he was about to achieve enlightenment. And the evening before he achieved enlightenment, all these maras appeared to him. I think some of us are familiar with that story, and I did mention it in the first class as well. All these maras, when one of the maras it can mean is like demons or doubt, you know, this doubt, or maybe this kind of deep doubt that, you know, I can't achieve enlightenment, or whatever kind of doubts come up in the mind on our spiritual path. They can become demons if they cause us to abandon our path. So just as she saves us from outer spirits, so sometimes, of course, as we, you know, enter into Buddhism more, we know that sometimes there's other types of beings that are not just human, they're spirit beings, and we can, you know, according to our karma, receive harm from spirits. Just as they can attack and consume us in our practice, so can this kind of demon or mara of doubt, you know, can cause us to make wrong choices. It can, just like at the time of the Buddha, all these kind of deepest fears, I guess, came up, you know, or inhibitions or doubts came up, and they attacked him just before he was going to achieve enlightenment. But because his concentration and his kind of meditation was so powerful in his bodhicitta, they just transformed into flowers. So they weren't able to, they didn't have any impact, you know. But there is an image of, you see that when you see the life story of the Buddha, and just before he achieves the deed of enlightenment, you see this image of the Buddha being attacked by all these sort of, and it's mostly all the inner maras and demons that were attacking him at that time, showing kind of the final doubts and fears that came up, and he just quashed them with his love and wisdom, you know, his compassion and his wisdom. He had that it's too much power. So similarly, that's what Tara does, the mantra, quashes those fears and doubts. So the next one, imprisonment and miserliness. I don't know if the correlation's so easy for that one. Anyone want to hazard a guess? How that would correlate between imprisonment and greed? I don't blame you if you don't, but
When you're miserly, it's like you're in prison. You're not free. You know, you're holding on. Everything's so tight. So that's in a way an imprisonment.
For her to see us when we put our hands up.
yeah, I mean, she saves us from
Robert had something to say.
Robert. Yep.
Oh, I just had pretty much the exact same thing to say.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have this, when you're imprisoned, you're chained in, aren't you? So as Sue was saying, you know, you get chained in. I mean, it really kind of holds us, especially like strong miserliness. I mean, as if we studied the Lam Rim, I mean, strong miserliness can cause you to be reborn in the Preta realm, yeah? A realm where you don't have food and water and drink because you've created this karma not to have the appearance of what you need because you've been strongly clinging and, you know, strong miserliness for your past life. That's what creates rebirth in this kind of Preta realm. So as you're saying, you know, it imprisons us. Strong greed and miserliness kind of imprison us even more deeply in grasping and really more deeply into samsara. Thieves and wrong views. That one might be manageable.
These teachings are a couple thousand years old. It's archaic language.
Anyone? Thieves and wrong views. I think this one's correlates quite well. If anyone wants to hazard answering. Eloise, I'm going to pick you.
Well, stealing is clearly comes from having a wrong view.
That's right. Yep. That's one example. Yep. Anything else to add on to that? Anyone?
Well, doesn't the wrong view usually relate to the dualistic mind? And then thieves, it's also like we cherish ourselves more than others, that whole self-cherishing greed mind of stealing. But the wrong view, I thought in Buddhism usually relates to not seeing the true nature of reality.
Yeah, so that's so that's all different aspects of it. So what it said, she saves us from the dangers of thieves and mostly from wrong views or heresy, yeah? So when we develop wrong views, maybe about our teachers or about the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, or about karma, especially about karma. So if we have a wrong view, karma, and that's one of the 10 non-virtues, isn't it? There's the 3 of the mind. And one of them is wrong views, and this is regarded from all the kind of non-virtues of the mind. Wrong views is the most dangerous because it can, if we don't have our correct view about karma, the law of causality, that whatever action we're creating is creating a subsequent result that we're going to experience in the future. If we feel like we can just do kind of whatever we want, and just abandon karma or we've got free will, and that can steal our enlightenment for a long, long time. So kind of any wrong views that we develop around karma, maybe around our teachers, or maybe we don't we feel like we develop a nihilistic view, as you were maybe saying, Julia, we don't kind of get the right view of the nature of reality. That can put us in many, many lifetimes and postpone or sort of steal our enlightenment away. So that's the kind of, correlation there between those two. Does that make sense? Nods?
I've got
Yep.
a question, Angie.
Yes, Kim.
So it feels to me like ignorance and wrong view kind of go together. And I was thinking of an example. If I was very hungry and my children were very hungry, I might not feel like it's the wrong thing to do to steal an apple for my child if they're really hungry. So I think that kind of rolls into ignorance, because there's a saying these days, you don't know what you don't know. And so I just kind of feel like there's a tie-in with ignorance and wrong view. Do you think that's correct, or am I on the wrong?
Yeah, ignorance. Well, ignorance is fundamentally a wrong view of reality. It's our most fundamental mistake, It's like,
Yes.
so yeah, it is a wrong view. In terms of ignorance itself isn't a wrong view. I mean, it is a wrong view. It's a mistaken mind. It's a delusion. So wrong views maybe comes under the category more of, just imagine we received some, teachings, and they were like maybe, maybe we decide that we've heard different teachings on the nature of reality, and we feel like the teachings on nihilism and nothingness is correct, that there's nothing, that we don't exist at all. That would be moving into developing a wrong view, because that would then cause us to create a whole bunch of karma that creates more and more problems for ourselves, and that keeps us in samsara.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Is that okay? So it's not quite that ignorance as such is the wrong view. Ignorance is the delusion, and it creates wrong views about reality. But if we receive teachings on how to overcome ignorance, and we accept that as valid teachings, and we practice that, like the Lamas on Kappa teachings, then we slowly develop our wisdom. So it's a slight difference between what wrong views are and actually what ignorance and wrong, slightly different there. But ignorance right now is a perpetrator. It causes us to perceive a wrong view of our reality ourselves and reality others. But at our level, the main wrong view that we want to correct is definitely around karma. In terms of the 10 non-virtues, being very, very clear about what karmic results create happiness and suffering, that's what, at the level of the path we're in, we need to take care of. That one, essentially, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to listen to teachings on emptiness and gradually develop the sort of right view of reality, you know, like at least even if we can't realize emptiness, at least we start to have developed some faith and conviction in the teachings on emptiness. That takes some time. So fundamentally, in the beginning, we want to correct our view of karma. And that slowly starts to correct the mind. And then slowly, slowly, we get deeper and deeper understanding of the teachings on emptiness, on the dependent arising. Does that help a little bit, Kim?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
So the last fear that Tara liberates from, we'll do the last one before we finish, snakes and jealousy. This one might be quite okay for anyone. Hazard if we want to try and attempt to answer. Sue. Nobody else is putting their hand up.
Well, jealousy is what? When you don't, like, the antidote to jealousy is uninhibited action, right? Where you could just go and do what you want. But I don't know how that can relate to a snake, except that they're sneaky and they're not forthright, maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, snakes, well, what Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, this is Rinpoche's interpretation, as you said, snakes can creep up on us unexpectedly and bite us. So jealousy can also bite into us and cause us pain, you know? So it's kind of, as you say, it's a bit sneaky. We don't always see jealousy very easily, but it can sneak up on us and it can create a lot of obstacles on our path. It can start to eat away at our merits, sort of poison us, you know, so to speak, and eat away at our happiness.
It can be subtle. That's what you mean by sneaky. It can be subtle, but you don't realize that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you were saying as well. It kind of sometimes it's not easy to see your jealousy. It sneaks up on you, and you don't it's not easy to see. So it's sneaky, but it is a poison, you know. It is a mental affliction, and it can really again destroy your sort of roots of goodness, our merits. And we can see that, you know, when you're jealous, you get stuck. It's not easy to feel happy in others' happiness. You know, we get stuck in that. I think it's one of the main obstacles that I feel to bodhicitta, you know, because bodhicitta is all about wanting others to be happy, right? So if you've got jealousy, I mean, forget it. You know, how are you going to get bodhicitta, you know, because it's all about wanting others to have happiness and the causes of happiness, be free of suffering. So if we're like not happy when others experience, especially spiritual happiness, some kind of spiritual awareness or, you know, doing practices, then for us, I think as Dharma practitioners, a big obstacle, you know, jealousy. So what's the antidote to jealousy? What's the positive,
I know two of them. One is to rejoice in someone's, and I thought the other one is that you have right action that is not inhibited, so that way you don't have to be jealous because you just do what is the right action without worrying about it. Anyway, those are the two that
I mean, rejoicing, I'm not sure about the other one, Sue. That might be one. I haven't heard of it, but certainly.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. Yeah. But rejoicing, I mean, it's even though you don't feel it, like if we get jealous of someone, we might not feel, oh, great, you know, it's not, you can't just shift your mind right away and say, oh, I'm really happy for you. It takes a while, but just trying to practice rejoicing, you know, in that moment, trying to remember to rejoice helps to sort of cut that sort of mind of jealousy. So that's why Lama Zopa Rinpoche has us stop, as we stopped in the prayer tonight, the Tara practice. I stopped and did that Lima rejoicing. Lama Zopa Rinpoche through pujas, he would always have us stop when you do your daily practice. Really important to do the rejoicing practice. Even if we don't have a lot of jealousy, it creates a huge amount of merit, just rejoicing in others, especially like Dharma brothers and sisters, rejoicing in ourselves as Westerners, because that's not something we're often familiar with. We're better at the self-critical, beating ourselves up stuff than the rejoicing. So I think that's why Rinpoche also said we have to rejoice in our own merits, our own goodness, then rejoice in others, and then rejoice in all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So that was something Rinpoche really emphasized for us to do. Stop there and do that meditation. Because for us, it's healthy because we don't find it easy to rejoice in ourselves sometimes. And then also it creates so much merit. It's like the lazy path to enlightenment, rejoicing in others. We create a lot of merit just sitting on the cushion, rejoicing in others. It's like you can just sit on the sofa. If you're too tired to go to a class, you can rejoice that everybody else is doing it, you know? You can create up to half the merit. Literally, you know, if you really feel for your heart, well, I'm too lazy, but I really rejoice that they're all doing, you know, you really, really feel that. It's like supposed to be up to half or more of the merits that you can create from that, you know, depending on different levels of mind. So it's a really good, it's a very, very important practice. So we've got,
Angie?
yes,
Sorry, I got
yes.
one little tiny thing to say, is that I feel like it's helped me to try to train my mind. When you hear about somebody doing something that maybe you've even really wanted to do yourself, and you know there's no way you can do it, especially related to the Dharma, like something you want to go to or a teacher you want to see or something, and that if you immediately train yourself to say, I'm so happy for you. I mean, saying I rejoice for you is a little bit harder to get out, but if you just express, it's a training of your mind, you know, then you can say that and you actually mean it. But just saying the words will help you feel that, you know.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. Yeah, as you say, just saying, oh, how wonderful it is, amazing, I'm so happy, you know, all that, you know, like a mantra. It becomes like a mantra. How wonderful, how amazing, you know, it's good practice. So just before we finish, is there any last question maybe? Or we did have a bit of nice exchange there, but does anyone have questions? Sorry, we didn't quite get to the end of the mantra, but we'll finish the mantra next week. And just a couple of other points on the Tara practice. And again, just start with the main Tara practice because it's our last week. It's only 4 classes, so there's not a lot to cover in 4 classes, but hopefully we get the mantra and a few more of the prayers we'll finish before the end of the class next week.
I had a
I'd
question.
like to say that I appreciate seeing people on the camera, like Mary and Mary Whiteman and Morgan, and just to see everybody is really nice. It doesn't
It
have
is
any
nice,
money,
yeah.
but thank you. It's nice to see.
Me too.
Do you have a second for a question, Angie?
Yes, yes. Let's do one question. Yeah.
I was curious about wrong belief, and about how you can distinguish what is a wrong belief. Because I was just thinking, because like I was educated by Catholic priests, and I remember thinking as a kid, I mean, I felt like they had a kind of incomplete understanding of a lot of spiritual matters, but I couldn't really empirically prove that they were wrong. I just kind of felt it in my heart. And I was thinking, you mentioned there are different Buddhist traditions, and I'm wondering, how do you know how you know what beliefs are right and which ones are wrong?
Well, you know, even at the time, even when the Buddha taught, he taught sometimes taught quite differently to different audiences, depending on the mindset of the audience. So I wouldn't want to say, the Christian belief in a creator God is wrong, because that's correct for them, you know. And if that causes whoever believes in that to practice virtue, to practice goodness or karma, then that's correct for them, you know, that fits their mental capacity. You know, so that's why I wanted to sort of mainly emphasize, because I think if you look at all the Buddhist traditions, all the traditions, not just in Buddhism, but I'm sure if you go back into Christianity and really study it well, especially maybe the more esoteric texts, I think all the traditions within there, the teachings on karma, the teachings on practicing not harming others are all there. So I think between all the traditions, you could pretty much say that that view is shared. That it's, we want to avoid harming others as much as we can with our body, speech, and mind. Now, once we get into the more kind of philosophical views of how phenomena exist, how we exist as beings, how others exist, what's our ultimate nature, there's even within the Buddhist tradition, there's different schools of thought, you know? So And of course, Christianity and other religious, there's different philosophical schools of thought. So that, in a way, that's a whole other discussion, you know. And we have different levels of mind and capability about how we can understand the nature of reality. So that's why for that particular topic, I just wanted to kind of leave it at the level of, mostly in all traditions, what we would say wrong views here is really about karma, you know. In this tradition, understanding more deeply karma, what creates happiness and what creates suffering and harm for ourselves and others. Just to kind of try and get an understanding at this level. And then that kind of starts to lead into getting a deeper understanding of the nature of reality and phenomena. Does that help?
Yeah, although I guess what I was more getting at is that I don't think that Christianity is itself invalid or an incomplete understanding of the universe. I meant more that Christianity, as manifested in like Catholic clergy, I felt like they were a bunch of charlatans. And I was
Oh, okay,
thinking,
like that.
yeah, and so I was just thinking,
No,
you know,
no,
we
sorry, I
have
don't mean to laugh, but oh, I see.
we
Well,
have
I don't know. I can't really speak to that. You know, I mean, everybody's an individual. You know, so I'm sure you would meet very pure practitioners and fake practitioners. Yeah.
I would agree. And I mean, I knew many priests who I thought were, you know, very fantastic people. I just thought that as a whole, the organization was very, you know, worldly, and it surrounded itself with a lot of, you know, trappings of wealth, and wasn't really using that to help the world. But I don't want this to turn into a discussion of Christianity. I was just wondering, you
Yeah.
know, we have Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and there are many different teachers, but how do we distinguish between, because I'm sure that there are Buddhist teachers who are also charlatans, and I'm wondering how we can distinguish the teachers from the charlatans.
I think that's just through personal experience and through maybe sharing with other Sangha who have maybe meeting other Sangha, you know, longer students who are more experienced, who maybe you feel inspired by, and maybe checking out their teachers. And, you know, His Holiness said you know, and there are fake lamas in this tradition as well, fake gurus, fake teachers. So one has to be careful and take some time to choose to really move into a relationship, a more serious relationship with a teacher. One should take time and check out. His Holiness said for Westerners, we could take up to 12 years to really decide on a teacher relationship. But in the meantime, just check out. Use your own wisdom, your own discriminating awareness, you know, and just attend and check out their behaviours or conduct. I mean, teachers, a qualified teacher is quite happy for you to do that. They would want you to do that. Check them out. It's good to do that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the simplicity of that answer.
Good. Okay. So,
oh, I didn't get it in the backhand.
No, but you can base it on what the other Sangha that you shared.
Yeah, I
Time.
didn't want to say something.
Sorry.
okay, so shall we dedicate? Because I realise it's
Morgan-
20 to
Morgan,
8. I don't want to keep everyone any longer. I'm sure some people might want to get off, but just let's take a moment to connect and think about something maybe we've heard tonight that's helpful, something new maybe that we can bring away with us to deepen our practice or to deepen our connection with Tara, to deepen our understanding of Tara, to inspire us to carry on with our practices, carry on with our commitments. Whatever commitment we've made to this path, is there something more we can take away that's kind of holding us in that commitment, in that path, in an inspiring way? And we dedicate to actualize bodhicitta. Oi janju senju rinpoche mage panam ge gyurshik ge panyam pa me ba yi gonne gondu pelwar shok. May the precious supreme bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline but increase more and more. May the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline but increase more and more. And then for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and all our teachers, incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And we can do a very short, so I'll just lend this Vigeshi share up. We can do a short, swift return prayer here for Lamas Operimshi. So on the last line, we can say, instead of please, please live long, please, please return quickly. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as a bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjanath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honouring the three sublime ones, saviour of myself and others, your disciples, please, please return quickly. Okay, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Wonderful,
you.
Angie.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Angie.